Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the zodiac sign Cancer and relationships part 2. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Well, anyway, people, first thing up is, some of you may have remembered when I did the part 1 series on the zodiac signs and relationships. I was basically talking about more specific relationships with each zodiac sign based on probable house placements. So, in signs, I should say signs on probable signs on the house cusps based on solar natal charts for the signs, but this one is going to be more generic, and how in this specific one, specific video, I should say, is going to be about how the zodiac sign Cancer is generally in relationships. So anyway, well, first up is the zodiac sign Cancer, of course, is exceptionally sensitive and to criticism and ridicule. Even if the criticism might be constructive, they may construe it as an unintentional slight. And I mean, if you're going to criticize Cancer, it's best to do it as delicately as possible, because even constructive criticism, this sign can take it to heart. I may know something about this, of course, because many of you may know my sun sign is in Cancer. And Cancer, can be very environmental, to say the least. And really this is a sign, of course, that, they could have very strong vacillations with their mood and temperament. And I think some of this is attributed to their sensitivity to environment. It could be picking up someone else's mood. And sometimes I think what happens with Cancer in their relationships, if they're in a bad mood, they may really take it out on someone else that had nothing to do with it. Because Cancer has a difficult time in hiding their feelings. And so the thing about this is, now Cancer's feelings can run deep, I don't see it as deep as Scorpio on average, but their connections and their feelings can run very strong and deep. And the thing about it is, Cancer will often, they could be beneficial to their close friends, or if they're in a situation with a significant other, what have you, because they are often able to pick up on the bad vibes in an air or in an environment. They have a better chance, I believe, than any of the other zodiac signs as far as picking up on a neighborhood, even if there's no outward indication of it, that there's something nefarious is in the air, if there's something malevolent or what have you going on. That is just how I think a lot of their intuition works, is they are one of the more intuitive signs, of course, being a water sign. Now, the thing about this is, no matter who they're connected with or what relationship it may be, these Cancerians, often their feelings may very well take precedence over ideas in their connections. They're more likely to convey their feelings rather than, or talk about feelings as opposed to articulating thoughts and concepts. Now, it doesn't mean they're incapable of it, but they often will talk about feelings, I believe, more so than the other zodiac signs on average. Now, they often will desire to, to have somebody that is very sensitive to their feelings. Cancer can be hurt very easily. They can take many things to heart. They could even be, for an example, let's say, Cancer tries to reconnect with somebody from their early education, like say on Facebook, and if this person that they reconnect with has basically forgotten about him or her, or acts oblivious to them, they could really take it to heart more so than the other signs. They just have an unfortunate tendency to take things very personally and very much to heart. And general statements that somebody can make can often be construed as subtle digs. Now, Cancer is can be very cognizant of the subtle ways that people may communicate, but sometimes Cancer, what they'll do is they'll search for something that they think was a subtle dig, when in reality it might have just been a generic statement that was made. Now, The thing about Cancer too is that really, and they could be really victims of unintentional slights. Sometimes they are ones though on one positive end with Cancer. Well, this is actually good. Or this is good and bad aspects and elements to it. I mean, Cancer memory could be very retentive. They could really they have one of the best memories, I believe, of the zodiac signs. They may have the best memory overall on average of all of the 12 zodiac signs, which of course could be good and bad. I mean, they could often ruminate and lament over past wrongs that were committed toward them by other people. They could also retain positive things that people have done to them or for them for a very long time. They often will not forget it either way. Now, the thing about Cancer too is that they could be very loyal in a relationship, or whether it's a significant other or a close friendship or what have you, and they can really stay with that person with a lot of tenacity and that clinging crab-like energy. They could often be very sympathetic and nurturing toward the people that they know very well. And the thing about it too is often Cancer will feel that other person's emotions. They could be very empathetic, and they could really feel if they have a close friend or significant other, there's someone they're in a romantic relationship or what have you, is upset or is hurt or furlong or what have you, they can often just get that mood and really start to feel it as well and feel that person's pain. Now, the thing about it is, and going back to Cancer, that can often be moody and temperamental. Now, Cancer, a lot of times, their moods change and vacillate very quickly, perhaps with the changes of the moon signs. Their moods may change as well. You look at Cancer, that they often, I mean, it's if they seem agitated toward you, it may often not be mad at you. They just might be in a general bad mood. And I think the things that, and the moon, as I stated before, they could change. The moods can change very quickly in terms of the moon changing signs. So, and really, I think Cancer, really, even though they're not ruled by Venus. I know they're ruled by the moon, but Cancer, I think, can unequivocally love more than any of the other zodiac signs on average, because they have so much feeling in them. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why they get hurt so easily. When a relationship when it breaks up, it's obliterated or whatever, then it's like their whole world can collapse, because I think what happens with Cancer in a lot of situations, they put so much into the relationship with so much of this emotional energy and so much feeling. And then when that person tells them goodbye, and it happens so inexplicably, and they say it's a situation where they felt like they didn't do anything to deserve it, if Cancer was just used or what have you, and then the other person just decides to move on abruptly, Cancer often will have one of the most difficult times in handling it. And the thing about it is too, well, what I want to get now is, as far as activities that Cancer may enjoy with their friends, with a significant other, someone they're in a romantic relationship with. Well, things that could be water activities. I mean, it could be like surfing or swimming, even underwater football, water polo, things that are associated with the water they may enjoy. And the thing about it is also things that might be family games. Cancer will often like to do activities with their family, and they'll often be a lot closer and have more of a rapport with their family members than the other zodiac signs on average. Now, Cancer, of course, could be very infatuated with their home and family life. Some family games, I mean, for example, they might like is Family Feud, or I think perhaps it may be a newer game called Utter Nonsense. And the thing about it too is that, remember that Cancer is introspective, but they could be very introverted, and again, as I stated before, very enamored, infatuated with the home and family life. They may often like to do activities with their close ones in their home, and in things that they feel at home with. And it could often be with their family members But the thing about Cancer is that they may often perceive their friends as family. I have a friend that has a Cancer Ascendant that told me that he basically, he has created his own family in his own way, I believe with the friends that he has, and he tries to perceive them as family. I thought that was interesting. And the thing about it, too, is that really Cancer, they cannot really, can have a lot of difficulty with people that can be very insensitive to their feelings. They take somebody like Aries could be very abrasive and very outspoken, and they to Cancer, they would just simply be too bruising for them. Understand there is a reason, of course, why Aries squares Cancer by sign. They are incompatible. Now, the thing about Cancer too is that, Cancer can be really exasperated and hurt by people that are insensitive to them, that don't really think before they speak, that don't articulate things in a way that's going to go over smoothly. They're not really ones that are into very outspoken speech by others. And the thing about Cancer too is that, as far as Cancer will do things with others in their relationships. A lot of times it's predicated how they feel, because Cancer, again, of course, being very moody and temperamental, a lot of what they do or don't do will be about how they feel at the time. And really, the thing about it is, they may say, I feel like doing this, I don't feel like doing such and such. And the thing is, given that Cancer is so, enamored, with home and family life, they could be very strong family defenders. They could be the consummate family man or woman. And even though Cancer is generally passive and docile and non-confrontational, what have you, the thing about Cancer is if you mess with one of their family members, that is when there may be hell to pay, and that's when you better put on your suit of armor, or battle suit, or what have you, at that figuratively speaking, of course, at that point in time. Now, as I've talked about previously, at least a few other videos, I believe, that how I believe that actors and actresses can often, sometimes consciously, be connected or attracted to roles that correspond with their astrological energies, and sometimes even on a subconscious level they may. And I think an example with prolific actor Sylvester Stallone is no exception. I remember one of the Rocky movies that there was this one guy, I think it was Tommy Morrison was the actor's name, and he was, I believe that's what it was, I don't remember 100%, but he was calling Rocky out. He was saying was challenging him to a fight, and Rocky just walked away and tried to ignore him. Then what happened was that guy that was calling him out pushed his, I think it was Rocky's father-in-law, and after he did that, he basically said he started walking toward the guy. Rocky started walking toward him. I think he took his shirt off, and that's when he was ready to fight him. So I think a lot of that epitomizes the Cancer nature, and Sylvester Stallone has his son in Cancer. Now, the thing about it too is, there was some movie with Mel Gibson, the actor Mel Gibson, who has a Cancer Ascendant, and I remember him getting very livid regarding his son in one of the scenes. He says, I want my son, or something, or where's my son, or something to that, something similar to that anyway. And Cancer is when they become acrimonious, often it's regarding a situation with a family member that might not be treated fairly, or there's something that's being done wrong to that person, to one of their family members. So anyway, and the thing about Cancer as well is that Cancer, of course, could be very, very shy and being very introverted. They're often very hesitant and reluctant to try to make connections. They could be very fearful and apprehensive of strangers, and that's why part of the reason it's very difficult for them to take the initiative in a potential prospective relationship. And often the other person will have to do so, as opposed to Cancer doing it. Now, The thing about it is Cancer is not necessarily vengeful or vindictive, but they may often lament and brood over past hurts. You know, sometimes when a lot of other people may have moved on from a negative situation they may have been involved with Cancer, Cancer may periodically bring this up and start talking about something that person did to them in the past. I tried one time to reconcile with somebody that was prominent in my life at one time. She had has a Cancer ascendant, and she wasn't, I mean, it seemed like everything was okay initially, like she was ready to reconcile and ready to move on, not lament over the past, you know, proceed forward, or go ahead, move forward, or what have you. But then she turned on me and stated that she started talking about all negative things about me from the past, and then she just, you know, basically detached herself from me, so essentially. So that's how Cancer can be, unfortunately. The thing too is Cancer would not get along too well, I don't think, in a lot of situations with an air sign. You take like an Aquarius, for example, the unpredictability, or even Gemini, the unpredictability of the signs can cause, I think, emotional upsetment to Cancer. And the fact that Aquarius is so future oriented, they're progressive, they want to move ahead. Cancer, unfortunately, they often will stay in the past. And if I remember correctly, the Cancer ascendant woman I was describing about before, she actually had one of those old style record players in her home, and the year was 2006 when she had it. And it just shows that, kind of epitomizes that Cancer connection to the past and things that are nostalgic. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer relationships part 2. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about Leo relationships part 2. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person astrologically speaking based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.